So I don't do a lot of movie reviews. I think I've done maybe one or two, but I had to do I had to do this one because this movie was so bad and it's getting so much praise. Um I use this term a lot and I'm sorry that I do. It's just it feels like this is the state of the world we're in. The Menu. This movie was it just felt blatantly anti-human, and I'll go into that in just a second. It's if you don't know, it's a pseudo horror movie. It's a rather pretentious horror movie, which is part of the problem with it. Long story short, Anya Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I forget her name. I always mess it up, so that's just what I call her. She goes with this guy here on an island to eat at this guy's restaurant. When they get there, this guy, the chef, hates everybody there, has a vendetta against them, and like is killing them off. It's slow burn horror. Slow burn horror. Uh, so it's when I say anti-human, everyone in this movie is terrible. They're all terrible people, or they're not people at all. And here's what I mean by this: there are spoilers. If you don't like that, don't watch it. Um, so the bad guy here, the chef, he's just a psychopath. He's sad that his art for cooking has gotten ruined by the industry and critics, and there's some critics there, and it's like, dude, you why don't you quit? Go work at McDonald's, because it ends with him being happy because Anya Jonathan Taylor Thomas wants him to make a hamburger for her because she saw in his private office like a picture of him the last time he was happy was when he was cooking hamburgers at some crappy little place. Well, you could have done that at any time. You didn't have to kill a room full of people, this big and your own staff. So he's a psychopath. Everyone there, no one in it until the very end shows like any real human emotions. They show the emotions of an actor reading a bad script. It's the same thing that Rian Johnson did in Knives Out and Glass Onion, where he writes characters that aren't people. He writes characters that are characters. They speak and act in ways no one has ever acted before in real life, or if they have, it was for an extremely short time frame. So of course there's like a rich guy and his wife, and of course he was cheating on her. And there's these dude bros that are like accountant investors or something, and they're of course entitled brats. The whole movie has a pseudo socialist message against the rich and the powerful and the eaters versus the underclass, because Anya Jonathan Taylor Thomas is also poor, just like the chef was. So they share that bond somehow. I mean, I didn't have like a lot of money at all growing up as a kid. My parents both worked, and I do not feel anything in common with anyone else just based on how poor we were. Like, I went to public school. I have student loan debt. There's a lot of us guys. Like, we are the 99%. There's most of us are like this. So it's got some of the typical jabs at high society that Hollywood does, which are like cheap and stupid, and it's never really about them. It's always a caricature, of course. Anyway, long story short, at the end of the staff that works for him, it's got that same girl that I think, don't quote me wrong, I think she was the same one that was in Watchmen. His assistant. I shouldn't say girl, I should say woman. Her, she's a robot. His whole staff are robots and that worship him like a cult for some reason, because that's just how people are. That's what we see in movies. That's why I call it anti-human. The people in it are either psychopaths, terrible people, or they're robots. There's not even Anya Jonathan Taylor Thomas doesn't act like a real person. She's a terrible person. She's like a sex worker or something. That doesn't make her a terrible person, but her blatant disregard for human life makes her a terrible person. And it's got a weird plot. It tries to do like the psychological undermining of the chef, and you're supposed to go through and like, I don't care. Like, you don't. and you're not supposed to, like, you're supposed to feel bad for him, I guess, at the end, because he lost his passion for cooking. It's like, dude, I don't care. I really don't care. You want to talk about like money? Like, this dude's loaded in this movie. He's like one of the most successful chefs on the planet. This is like if Gordon Ramsay were whining about he grew up poor, so now I'm gonna like kill the entire staff of like the Great British Baking Show. So it's just a pretentious movie. I can't really get over how pretentious it is in its idea of trying to not be pretentious. And Anya Jonathan Taylor Thomas is a great actress as far as putting on emotions and stuff, but I mean, she doesn't play an interesting character at all. She doesn't have any real thing. This is her emotion the whole movie, even when she's like scared briefly. This is it. It's the not even plucky. She's not even plucky. It's just kind of the kind of arrogant, kind of just mean survivor that gets back at the chef by playing to his insecurities and outsmarting him basically. And at the same time, you're supposed to feel a bond between them because they're the 99%. Her boyfriend, or I'm sorry, what? It's not even her boyfriend. It's just some rich kid that hired her to be there, and somehow he knew everybody was gonna die, and he wants to be an acolyte of the chef, and they do a whole thing with him about how he can't cook. He wants to cook, and of course he acts like no one you've ever met, ever. John Leguizamo, bless his soul, is somehow in this, and plays like a douchey actor. I think most people were wasted in this. I think this movie was a waste of talent. Um, it's not even good horror, man. Like I'm getting kind of tired of horror trying to be elevated. Man, horror is supposed to be schlocky. Horror is it's like metal music. You don't get pretentious with metal. You know what I mean? It's punk. Horror is where you go to like just make a cool movie and just do things, and it pushes boundaries. This felt like if Silence of the Lambs sucked. That's how this felt. I don't know. I mean, I just had to make a review of it because I just got done watching it. It took me 2 days to watch it because I didn't care to sit through it, and it's just getting a lot of praise. I mean, at least it didn't go cannibal. I thought it was going to do cannibalism. Like when I saw the original poster, which this poster makes it look like it's a '90s like was like Lucky Number 11, like pseudo action film. That's what this looks like. It looks like they're about to go steal cars and rob a bank. But using my context clues, if you went to school in the '90s, you would know what context clues are. I assumed it was about murder / cannibalism, so I was kind of off. But I don't know, man. The guy who plays the chef, brilliant actor. Forget his name. He was in that Wes Anderson movie about the hotel. Great movie. It's just it's anti-human, or at least it's juvenile in that sense, where it feels like it was written by people who never actually met other people or just didn't care how people are. And I think you're supposed to feel like catharsis. Let me see. That the rich people that were bad people get killed at the end, but I mean, they weren't really bad people. They hadn't done anything wrong. I think one was like a critic that had shut down restaurants. Okay, she's kind of a jerk. And one was like, dude, you were just, I don't know, like I said, it had these kind of like Marxist / socialist undercurrents, which is so prevalent in billionaire Hollywood now. Where I think you're supposed to hate people because they're rich. And like, have you met some poor people? Some poor people. It's more likely that poor people are awful because they're the 99%. it's statistically more likely that you'll meet a poor person that's horrible. Anyway, he dresses up everybody as s'mores. He puts like this overcoat of marshmallows around them. They just sit there. That's another thing. No one acts like a human. No one acts like any person that's ever existed when their life's threatened and tried to fight. They all just sit there scared the whole time. And then he puts a chocolate hat on them, and then he just burns them to the ground in like what is essentially like a pagan ritual. I don't want to go to Reddit. Reddit sucks. And he even makes some. There it is. Like. What I would love to do is make a cut, or like when this scene is happening, is get a Nick Cage from the Wicker Man remake, and him screaming like "ah!" as the fire goes. Anyway, as he's like burning people or getting ready to burn him, the chef makes one last little jab about the s'more we associate it with innocence, but it's all unethically, like organized chocolate and sugar water or whatever. Talking about like, and it's like, dude, it's not with this reductionist like socialist BS. Like, you don't know where the chocolate came from. It may have been ethically sourced, and if you didn't, why didn't you get ethically sourced chocolate? Why did you, like, with all your tons of money and resources, why why did you choose to go with bad chocolate? It's it feels very Rian Johnson. There's some humor, and there's literally a scene where the chef quotes Dr. King, and he says to quote Dr. King, and he does, and like that works well enough as a joke as it is, because it's this rich white guy about to burn other people quoting Dr. King about his own, comparing the plight of black people in America to his personal tragedy of life. That's enough as a joke. But then after he does that, after he says the quote, like John Leguizamo's character literally goes, "Did he just quote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?" And everybody goes, "Yeah, he did." It's like, I got it, movie. I got it. Hollywood, why can't you just write a joke without telling me, wink, wink, this is what they're saying? Like, the audience isn't that stupid. This is what this movie is, just like Glass Onion, where the writers clearly assumed they were intelligent or they were clever, and at the same time assuming their audience was stupid. So yeah, here's more of the s'mores scene. Womp womp. This looks like it was this scene. It makes it look like the movie is like a dark, evil Willy Wonka sequel. And it's not lost on me that it kind of looks like a chef jacket. Oh, there's also a scene where, like, yeah, he's got a blood smear on his jacket, and then like a scene later, it's gone. I don't know if that's like a blooper. I'm gonna assume it is. Which is like, how do you have a blooper in a movie that takes place in one room? I don't know, but I don't know. I'm not thinking it through. I'm not gonna write a video essay. I don't do that enough. I've wrote enough essays, minoring in like literature or English, whatever I minored in, doesn't matter. I wrote enough BS essays. I'm not gonna write out my reviews. But anyway, guys, I just had to, man. It's not good. It's just go watch a good schlocky horror film. Go watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Go watch The Thing. Something like that. Something that's great. Don't watch this waste of good talent. Can't recommend it. Can't recommend it. Now, if you want something that is a bit more, or just watch Hereditary, something like that actually is, I guess, high class horror that did it well. Not this. Anyway, peace.